Hello, I'm Greg Walford, and this is Pyramid or Battery. Now, what if I told you that the ancient pyramids used to glow with a subtle white light during the nighttime in ancient Egypt, that of ancient Las Vegas? This is not crazy to think. They had objects like this back then, such as the Baghdad battery, which was a clay pot with copper wiring that reconstructions of today's models were able to power a simple 30-watt light bulb, or hieroglyphs that look like light bulbs of workers working inside the ancient pyramids, hundreds of years before Ben Franklin or Thomas Edison ever made these strides. Now first I want to talk to you about the structure. They have an outer layer, which is the Tor limestone. This is the white glossy limestone that would have been for show, or most people thought. And then they had the dolomite limestone, which is the inner limestone, which was the structure. But with modern research, we have found out there was actual uses to this. The dolomite limestone had a high magnesium content, which was better for conducting electricity. And the Tor limestone had a low magnesium content, which made it a really good insulator. So nothing could get out. And then there was the granite passageways, which were originally thought to be just regular passageways, but after many research, they found out granite is radioactive and ionizes the electricity in the air. So the second thing would have been the shape. Most pyramids were shaped for tombs as either step pyramids or a flat plateau. The Great Pyramids were the pyramid shape that we all think of when we hear the word pyramid. And then the size on top of that, it was hundreds of times bigger than the pyramids used in burials. Now, if you compare these to the structures that we build today, most massive structures that we use are for electricity, such as hydroelectric dams, windmill turbines. And now we're on to the location of where they were built. These are separated from the Valley of the Kings, as it's called, which is where everybody was buried. But these were buried on lines that we call subtle energy lines, or ley lines. Now this gives off the electric magnetic field naturally occurred during the Earth's time, but the pyramids are placed exactly on these lines to try and harness that energy and store it. Now these lines can be found all over the world, and they give off a turtle current, which is the current I was just talking about. Now it's found in places such as the Amazon with their temples, Stonehenge, and the Mayan temples. Now, Dr. John Slavo, a geologist, is on record of saying these lines do exist. And he went on an expedition to the Mayan temples and took electric readings of all the temples. The newer ones came up dead with no electric readings at all. But yet, the older ones, when he would go up to them, would be off the charts. Now, it is thought that these were built first for energy so they could build the rest of them. Now, where exactly the pyramids were built was where two of these lines would ever cross, which is known as conductivity discontinuity lines. Now this is where a line with one which could harness electricity very well and another would be not great at all would overlap. This is where we find most of the temples or burial sites built. The ancient Chinese also had these lines and called them dragon lines. No commoners were allowed to be buried on these lines, only kings, and they would also have temples resurrected at these spots. Now this wasn't the only way that the pyramids would try and harness the energy. They also had limestone aquifers underneath the pyramids. And every year as the Nile would rise and fall, the limestone would conduct electricity with the water constantly moving, and the pyramids with the limestone inside and the limestone outside working as wire, conductive wire, would be able to harness it. And also what was found around all these pyramids, and not the rest, were massive quantities of quartz. Now quartz is a big contributor in our electronics today. It's found in CDs, DVDs, AM and FM radios, watches, all sorts of electronics. Now to think that they could not, or did not, do this would just be foolish of a person, because we have no idea with the shape the pyramids in today, with it being destroyed of the outer layer, that it was not able to harness this. Now with all this evidence, such as location on the tour lines, the type of stone used with the dolomite limestone, the tour limestone to conceal the dolomite limestone, and the granite passageways, which served no purpose but to move or conduct electricity, that these pyramids were not possible. We were not fully able to understand these pyramids until we were fully able to understand the subtle energies that they could harness.